own albums that are rarer, albums that are worth more money, albums critics definitely like better, but somehow I keep coming back to this one. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dave's Side 1. I'm Dave, your host who's convinced our favorite albums aren't always the ones critics rank the highest. They're the ones that quietly become part of our lives. Over here at Art of Listening Records, where every record has a story and every story starts on side 1. Now, if someone asked me to name the greatest albums ever made, I'd probably give an answer. But if they asked me which albums I've actually played the most, the list would look very different. Because we don't return to records only because they're masterpieces. We return to them because they're familiar. Because they remind us of a certain time or place, because they fit an ordinary Saturday afternoon, because they slow us down, because they make us smile. Some albums become old friends. They don't demand our attention. They don't need to impress us every time. They simply make us feel at home. I think every record collector has a few albums like that. They may spend little time on the shelf, but sooner or later, they find their way back to the turntable. So as we do, let's explore this a little bit further as we take a quick walk down Dave's memory lane. Now, every record collector has a handful of albums that never seem to stay on the shelf for very long. For me, one of those records is Joe Walsh's album, So What? I've asked myself over the years why I keep coming back to it. It isn't because it's the rarest album I own. It isn't because I'd argue it's the greatest album ever recorded. And it isn't because I need someone else to tell me how important it is. I return to it because it has become comfortable and familiar, like visiting an old friend. Every time I play it, I'm reminded of different seasons of my life. Sometimes it's a particular song. Sometimes it's where I was living when I heard it. Sometimes it's simply the feeling that comes from hearing an album that has been with me for decades. That's one of the quiet gifts of collecting records. A favorite album doesn't just preserve music. Over time, it preserves pieces of your life. And after enough years, you're no longer returning only to the record. You're returning to all the versions of yourself who listened to it before. So on tonight's Side 1 spin, before you go, find that one album you always seem to come back to. Maybe it's not the rarest record you own, or maybe it's not even the most valuable. Maybe it isn't even by far your favorite artist. But for some reason, it feels like home. Put it on tonight and enjoy the company, and come back and tell me all about it in the comments. Well, that's it for today's Side 1. Thanks for spending a little time with me again, and please keep that needle in the groove. We will talk to you tomorrow.